All right, so I want to take I'm going to take like 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to try to run through this as quick as I can because I know we're running short on time. And then we got Beatrice after myself that's going to share something with you guys as well. So one thing I wanted to touch base on was something that's easy to, I guess, overlook, or it's a little bit, I guess we talk about so much a lot in, I wouldn't say just in this church or churches in general. It's always easy to just focus on God when things are going well. So it's always easy to thank God when things are going well, when things seem to be going right, and thanking God for all those things. And while that's not wrong, but we also have to remember, like, when things get rough, that's also when we have to look to God as well, and know that He's in control. When you don't do that, it's very easy to just fall, and it's very easy to depend on your own strength, and it's very easy to just kind of go down a mudslide, and it gets kind of nasty. And I speak from like experience on that, which I'll get into here in a little bit. So just to kind of give a couple examples of hardships we go through, I wanted to see if you guys can help me out here with a couple hardships. And it doesn't have to be serious. It could be silly, kind of like, who hates YouTube ads? I hate them. They're the worst, especially when it gives you one, and then it's like, and you think it's going to give you like the skip option, and it doesn't, and it jumps right into another ad, and then it makes you watch another one before you can actually watch the video. Yeah, that's the worst.
Especially the 60-second ads.
Yeah, those are the worst. And then I was kind of hesitant about putting this example on here because we live in the age of the AirPods and stuff like that. I know when I was in middle school and high school, the earbuds and the wires, like when you're walking and you're doing your thing, you're listening to music, you're in your zone, and then you're just walking and something just yanks your earbuds out of your ears, and you're just like, man, that really messes me up. So does anyone else have an example of like a hardship? Like, and like I said, it doesn't have to be serious. It could be something silly or something that you go through. Caleb?
So like when you're driving, somebody's going under the speed limit.
Yeah, for the drivers. Yeah, that sucks. When your phone dies and you're in an important phone call, you guys are in a good conversation, your phone just dies. Yeah, that sucks. Anyone else?
When Caleb cuts you off in traffic.
Yeah, that's the worst. Don't do that.
When you play a game and your internet crashes.
Oh yeah, your internet crashes, you start lagging, playing some Call of Duty, and then you just start lagging.
When your siblings come in your room and then they leave your door open when they leave.
Yeah, that's the worst. I didn't really have much siblings. I mean, all my siblings are much older, so I didn't really have that problem. But someone over here had one too, right? Or were you done? Okay. All right. And then it also can go to a little bit more serious, like you lose a loved one, friendships fall apart, and certain things like that. And it's very easy, and it's healthy, I think, for us to also question why bad things may happen to us. Now, are we always going to have all the answers and stuff like that? No. But that's okay. We're not designed to know everything. And that's why we have to lean into the Bible and lean into God when these bad things happen to us. And in fact, a lot of people in the Bible are most known, like one of our most known biblical figures, questioning God's in times of hardship. So starting with David in Psalms 10:1. I'm going to pull that up there. Wyatt?
I think
That's James.
That's James 1 too.
Psalms 10:1. David.
And where it says,
There we go.
"O Lord, why do you stand so far away? Why do you hide when I am in trouble?" And that's David questioning God in a time where wicked people just seem to keep prevailing in front of his eyes, and it just felt unfair. And I'm sure we've all gone through that, and you feel like good things happen to bad people. Keep happening to what we seem to define as bad people, and stuff like that. And then to jump to the next one is Moses in Numbers 11:11, and where Moses says, it says in the Bible, "And Moses said to the Lord, 'Why are you treating me, your servant, so harshly? Have mercy on me. What did I do to deserve the burden of all these people?'" And that comes in a time where Moses was just going through the struggles of leadership and managing the people of Israel, and just a lot on his plate. And then finally, you have Jesus himself in Matthew 27:46, where it says, at about 3 o'clock, Jesus called out with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you abandoned me? And that, as we all know, that happened when he was on the cross. And I want to share all those examples because it not only shows that we're not wrong to question in times of harshness or hardships, but it's good because it helps us grow. So that comes to like what is the purpose of trials? Like, why do we go through them? And then I'll jump to James 1:2-5 here, where it says, dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete and needing nothing. So to just break that down a little bit, when we go through these struggles, it's basically telling us we have a chance to grow, not to fall backwards. So, but that comes with a caveat. You gotta lean on God. You gotta seek God in these times of struggle, and seek him so you can actually grow. Because then if you're depending on yourself and you're just loathing and wondering why these things are happening to you, then you're just gonna fall through some dark times. And that's where it can even lead you to depression, anxiety, and all those nasty stuff that unfortunately we're susceptible to as a byproduct of sin. And touching into that, again, why do we go through these things? Is it because God is unfair, or is it because the world we live in is corrupt? And I go with the latter. It's because the world we live in is corrupt. God is just. It's very important to remember that evil was introduced into the world when Satan deceived Adam and Eve and they fell into sin. And that's where it all kind of started, which we all know that story. So it's important to seek God's plans during these trying times. And just to give you a little bit of an example of something I went through. And it's a little raw, but I feel like it's important for us to just kind of discuss here. So back in 2019, my life changed forever. My mother was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a very aggressive form. And the doctors didn't have a great prognosis on it. They were just kind of like, oh, we're gonna have to start chemo treatments, or we're gonna have to go through there and see what happens. So this was in 2019, and just to kind of fast forward a little bit, she was diagnosed, I want to say August of 2019. She passed April of 2020. So she didn't make it past a year past her diagnosis. And this was a time in which I wasn't really centered in Christ. I had already accepted Jesus when I was like 15, but I strayed away for a little bit. And crazy enough, one of the people that brought me back or helped bring me back to Jesus was my mother. And these trials that she was going through, she never wavered in her faith. I saw the rawness that came with just the reality of her having to lose her life, and the struggles that came through that, and just the human instinct of just being scared and not knowing what's going to happen. So with that, she just never wavered in her faith. She prayed all the time. She always wanted to pray with me. I remember that she knocked on my home, and she eventually moved into me, and that's when she eventually passed. But I remember before that happened, when she was going through her chemo, no hair, super skinny, knocking on my door to try and drag me to church so that way I could go to church with her. So that way she can get some word in and grow. Because she knew, like, if she fell on her own, like, it's just a very dark place to be in a time like that. So And just to kind of fast forward a little bit past that, after that time, I struggled with panic attacks. I remember I was on my way home one day. Well, actually, for those of you that don't know, I have 3 kids. At the time, I only had one. I only had CJ. And I was picking them up from my in-laws' house, and I remember getting in the car and pulling up to a red light. I was on the phone with my dad, and then I just felt my whole body go numb. Like I felt like I was gonna die. And that's just because I carried a lot of that with me. I felt like I had to tackle through that experience through myself. And then eventually, once I grew past that, I just began reading the Word and just diving into what He was trying to tell me. And it took a few years for me to really grasp what happened. And in the past year, I want to say, I've really come to understand why this happened. It's not exactly why it happened, or better for me to process why these things happen to us. That's one thing I just want to leave with is just seek encouragement through God. He healed me of that pain that I was going through, the anxiety, the panic attacks. As a human, I go through something, still some anxiety every now and then, just being a father. But that's just because I'm a father of 3, and please pray for me. But that's just normal stuff. But it's important to know, in these trials and adversity, that's an opportunity for your relationship with God to grow. Don't look at it as, instead of asking why would God allow this, because that's something I was guilty of a lot when I was going through this, is why are you doing this, God? Why her? I can't speak enough positive things about my mom. She got along with everybody. She loved everybody. She loved us like her kids. And but once I started asking, what are you trying to teach me through this, and how can I get stronger through this, is when I really started to thrive and grow past that. So it's important that we take these opportunities to lean into Him more and not on yourself. And this Bible verse is not on the slide. I actually thought about this a little bit earlier today and just threw this in here because it's a great example of what we can see when we cast our eyes not on Jesus. And it's in Matthew 14:28-30 when and it says, "Then Peter called to Him, 'Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water.' 'Yes, come,' Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink. 'Save me, Lord,' he shouted." So right there, it's a great depiction on as soon as you start focusing on everything around you and not focusing on Jesus, you're gonna sink. As simple as that. So if I'm gonna leave you with anything today, just remember God gave us the victory by conquering sin on the cross. Always remember, it is okay to question God when you're going through these things, because even our biblical figures did that. But it's also important that we lean on His Word for these answers and not on secular influences, because that's when it gets dangerous. So I'm going to just leave you with one last Bible verse, and then I'm going to hand it off to Beatrice. And that's in Proverbs 3:5-6, where it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take." All right, I'm going to hand this off to Beatrice now.
A lot of stuff here. Give me a minute. Okay. So, I know a lot of us here have pets, right? All of you, almost all of you. Some of you, at least. Some of you. I know some of you have pets.
Yeah.
One thing is when you guys have a pet and they do something wrong and they you know, like jump on you or like accidentally like mouth you or something, or they like get into like a bag of food, whatever, you like, your instant reaction is usually like, no, don't do that, don't, get away. And you get like super mad at them, but then you look at them and it's like, I could never be mad at that. Like my dog the other day, I was coming home and she broke out of the front door, like opened the handle herself somehow, ran out, jumped on me, scratched me down my whole body, and I was just like, dear Lord, what are you doing? And then and she sat down and started wagging her tail at me, and I was just like, all right, you just get back inside. I love you too much. I can't do anything about this. And so that kind of brings us to something that we deal with pets is forgiveness, and we forgive our pets a lot, but that's not something we do with people a lot. At least in today's society, I believe that it's something we've really forsaken. And like when someone has done something really wrong to us, we tend to hold a grudge, and a lot of people will just be like, oh, they just hurt me so badly, I can't forgive them, and I have the right to hold a grudge against them because they did something so horrible, and they traumatized me for life, and it's just, you know, and that is, you know, just like the general thing that society tells us is like the right response to something, and that is not, in fact, what the Bible tells us. So, yes, so forgiveness, a gift to God and a call to action. That is what my message is called today. So, the Bible actually has a lot of mentions of forgiveness, not even just like the ones that it has up here. Like these are some of the direct mentions. Colossians, Ephesians, Mark, all of them. One that you guys might know very well is the one, I think it's like, how many times should I forgive him? 70 times 7, like, I don't know how it goes exactly, but you know which one I'm talking about. It's a very well-known one. So the amount that forgiveness is mentioned is in the New Testament 146 times, 89 times in the Old Testament, of the total of 127 direct mentions of forgiveness in the whole of the Bible, and over 200 about the general subject, just in all of it. So, in the passage in John, John 8:3-11, it says, the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery, having set her in the center of the court, and they said to him, Teacher, this woman has been caught in adultery in the very act. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. What then do you say? They were saying this, testing him, so that they might have grounds for accusing him. But oh, there we go. Okay. When they persisted in asking him, he straightened up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him be the first to throw a stone at her. Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. When they heard it, they began to go out one by one, beginning with the older ones, and he was left alone. And the woman, where she was in the center of the court, straightening up, Jesus said to her, Woman, where are they? Did no one condemn you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus says, I do not condemn you either. Go from now, sin no more. So this passage is an example of Jesus showing us forgiveness directly in action. And notice how he said to the people to not throw a stone based on how offended they felt by her actions, but whoever was without sin should throw a stone. They all left, right? So this is also an expression of how Jesus tells us to leave judgment up to the Lord, because the Lord is the only one without sin. He is the only one with the right to pass judgment on people. And he, even the Lord, he'll just forgive you if you say, I'm sorry. He'll forgive you and he'll just move on. He won't hold a grudge. He won't, bring anger and wrath and a long-held grudge upon you, which is definitely what society has normalized as an appropriate punishment for those who do wrong to us. And then in Romans 12, 17 and 19. Never pay back evil for evil to anyone. Respect what is right in the sight of all men. If possible, so far as it depends on you, be at peace with all men. Never take your own revenge, but leave room for the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. So, saying never pay back evil for evil to anyone, basically the old-timey version of saying two wrongs don't make a right. You've all heard that saying. And I think that's very true. It also says that if it's possible for you, be at peace with all men or people. And this means that if we have the heart, forgive everybody for all of their actions. Don't bring judgment upon anybody at all, no matter what. And we should be kind to everybody, no matter the circumstance. But God understands us as people, and it's sometimes a little hard to be at peace with every single person in our lives. I get it. I know a lot of you get it. It's hard to be, perfectly at peace with everybody. And God understands that. He gets it. And so he says, leave it up to him. He'll deal with it. He'll repay. This can also be deciphered as letting that person succumb to their own consequences of their actions. There's always consequences to something negative, whether it's instant or later on down the road, there's always something. And that's what God is telling us to do. Let them figure that out themselves. We don't have to go and, hold a grudge on that person, go and punish them like physically, emotionally. That's not what he tells us to do, right? And then, okay, the next one is in Luke, and it says, do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. This shows us how we need to forgive others to leave room for the Lord to forgive us. Grudges take up a really, really big part of our hearts, and that can be it can make us center our whole lives around it, especially if you are you're really, really hateful towards somebody, and if someone has done you wrong and you just talk about it all the time and you just don't stop thinking about it, it takes up almost all of your life, and it can be really, really draining. And the same part that we hold grudges in, it is the same part that God forgives us through. And so, a good way to look at it is, have any of you ever been on a plane and traveled and stuff? A lot of you travel a lot of the time. So they've got these rules for how much you can take on the plane and put in the bottom. You can't take a whole bunch of stuff with you, or you can't take a whole bunch of stuff with you on the plane because it's it's too much, whatever. TSA, annoying, I know. So that can be, you can go to the next slide. I made this little diagram to be if you're holding on to, I have a silly little metaphor. If you're hanging off of a cliff and you're one hand you're holding on, other hand you've got a big heavy rock with a rope tied to it. You you can't get someone to pull you up with the same hand that you're holding onto that rope. But if you untie the rock and you get rid of it and you throw the rope up, and someone can pull you up, right? So this can be put into a biblical sense through being if you're holding onto a grudge, then you untie that grudge and you forgive that person, then the Lord can forgive you and you can be at peace. And that's, just don't even worry about it. I made it in Adobe Flash or something, I don't know. Okay, so forgiveness affects relationships very deeply. It's one of the key components to a successful one. And just like God understands what it's like to be a person, we all do. All of us, every single one of us has been living on this earth. Every single one of us is human. And there's no reason that we should forget what it's like to be human when considering other people. And so, you have to, it's especially important to forgive those that we love and don't hold grudges. Like I said earlier, with being at peace with all people. If you can't be at peace with all people, at least be at peace with the ones that you interact with and that you have relationship with. Because if you hold a grudge against someone that you're in a relationship with, things are going to go south real quick. The passage, Proverbs 17:9, it says, "Whoever covers an offense seeks love, but whoever repeats a matter separates close friends." So that's, essentially it's telling us holding grudges can break friendships, relationships. It can break any type of relationship you hold because it's just, holding on to the one thing that has gone negatively. And trust in each other as people is also trust that you have the ability to forgive each other when you make bad decisions and when you do things wrong. And even after all that, forgiveness, straight up, it's just a key aspect to living life, especially without burdens on your shoulders. So hatred and holding grudges is a very active decision to make, even if it's not necessarily all the time it's conscious. A lot of the time you can hold things in your body, you can hold things in your mind without realizing. Like, for example, when I was in 6th grade, there was somebody who did not like that I was faster than them in our cross-country team, and they didn't like the way I looked, and they didn't like the way that I expressed myself. And so, getting a little deep here, just bear with me. They were talking to their friends about how they wanted to bring some weapons to school and come and hurt me because I was, not the person that they liked, right? And so that caused a whole lot of trauma for me for a really long time, and I was really, really angry at that person. The school didn't even let me see their face. Like, it was handled so terribly. I was mad at the person, I was mad at the school, I was angry at everybody for a really, really long time. And then when I found Jesus last year, I was like, that person was a 7th grader. That is a 13, 14-year-old kid that probably has a lot of hatred in his heart and doesn't know God and doesn't know what to do with that hatred, so he directs it towards other people. And so what I decided was I forgave that person a while ago, and I don't have as much anxiety around it anymore. I don't have the anxiety that that same person is gonna show up and harm me, because I realized it was so long ago, and I know that it's not gonna come back to me anymore. And especially it's not gonna come back spiritually anymore to me, because I've forgiven them and I've given it up to God. So why also choose negative experiences and feelings, if they are a choice, of course, when you can forgive them and pray for them, pray that they don't hurt you, that they don't hurt other people the same way that they've hurt you. And that's a key aspect of it as well. And then many times in your community, I know this has been said a lot, but many times you are the only man of Jesus that people see. And so when people see Jesus in you, make sure that you represent him correctly. And when you're representing him, make sure you don't hold grudges, because Jesus doesn't hold grudges. At least not to people. Some trees, maybe. I don't know. At some point, I feel like that happened at some point, but that's a whole other thing. Jesus doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't tell us to punish people. He does not tell us to push people away from him, which is what holding grudges is going to do. If you're super, super angry at someone and you are like, I don't like you, I'm gonna be hateful towards you and hold a grudge, you're pushing them away from Jesus, because what if you're the only Jesus that they get to see? Think about it. And so, Jesus doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't tell us to push people away from him. So, I'm gonna call you all to do something really difficult. Try and forgive the people in your life who've done you wrong. It's hard. A lot of the time it feels really, really impossible. But a good way to look at it is, do the next one, is you surrender your heart to God and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Please take this from me. Help me forgive this person. Pray on it. It's very helpful. Prayer is very helpful, actually. I've found that out in the past year. So pray on it. And once you have prayed on it and you have found the heart to start forgiving that person, a good way to cycle into it is to hope that they change for the better. And then if you can help them, if you are, able physically, mentally to go out and help that person, to go and ask them, hey, do you know Jesus? Have you been thinking about, Jesus lately? Have you ever walked with him? Go out and do that for them, because a lot of the time when somebody is being negative towards somebody else, it means that they don't have enough support around them, whether or not they know it or not, So, go out and help them. And if you're not able to help them, if it's too hard, like if they've seriously traumatized you and it's not safe for you to be around them, or you can't physically get to them or whatever, you get it. Pray for them. Hope that they change for the better. Pray to God, be like, Lord, this person has done some messed up stuff. Please help them find you. Please make sure that they don't do anything this bad to anybody else. And then, so some additional stuff. If you are having trouble, sorry, I have a lot of stuff here. If you are having trouble wondering, why you should forgive somebody for something, especially if they've done something wrong, healing yourself first is really, really important. So healing yourself and forgiving people, it means that you can do what God wants you to do in the world. It means that, the things that you've had to forgive people for, it means that you can help other people overcome that and do other things to get through that. So basically you become free if you forgive people. Surrender, forgive, hope and help that they get better. And that's about it.